So the first executive order that I want to review is titled Protecting the American People Against Invasion. One purpose: over the last 4 years, the prior administration invited, administered, and oversaw an unprecedented flood of illegal immigration into the United States. Millions of illegal aliens crossed our borders or were permitted to fly directly into the United States on commercial flights and allowed to settle in American communities in violation of longstanding federal laws. Many of these aliens unlawfully within the United States present significant threats to national security and public safety, committing vile and heinous acts against innocent Americans. Others are engaged in hostile activities, including espionage, economic espionage, and preparations for terror-related activities. Many have abused the generosity of American people, and their presence in the United States has cost taxpayers billions of dollars at the federal, state, and local levels. Enforcing our nation's immigration laws is critically important to the national security and public safety of the United States. The American people deserve a federal government that puts their interests first, and a government that understands its sacred obligation to prioritize the safety, security, and financial and economic well-being of Americans. This order ensures that the federal government protects the American people by faithfully executing the immigration laws of the United States. It is the policy of the United States to faithfully execute immigration laws against all inadmissible and removable aliens, particularly those aliens who threaten the safety or security of the American people. Further, it is the policy of the United States to achieve the total and efficient enforcement of those laws, including through lawful incentives and detention capabilities. Section 3, faithful execution of the immigration laws in furtherance of these policies described in Section 2 of this order. A, Executive Order 13993 of January 20th, 2021, which was Biden's executive order, which was titled The Revision of Civil Enforcement, Immigration Enforcement Priorities and Policies, aka the Prosecutorial Discretion Memos, Enforcement Priority Memos. This executive order of that date of the Biden administration, called Creating a Comprehensive Regional Framework to Address Causes of Migration, which created the different initiatives to reduce asylum seekers at the border, including creating USCIS offices in Guatemala and other places in Central America. And this executive order of February 2nd, 2021, establishment of an interagency task force on the reunification of families, as well as this one, Restoring Faith, are all hereby revoked. All of Biden's executive orders are out. B, executive departments and agencies shall take appropriate action to promptly revoke all memoranda, PD memos, guidance, or other policies based on the executive orders above of this order shall employ all lawful means to ensure the faithful execution of the immigration laws of the United States against all inadmissible and removable aliens. Section 4 is called Civil Enforcement Priorities. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall take all appropriate action to enable the Director of ICE, the Commissioner of CBP, and the Director of USCIS to set priorities for their agencies that protect the public safety and national security interests of the American people, including by ensuring the successful enforcement of final orders of removal. Further, the Secretary of Homeland Security shall ensure that the primary mission of U.S. ICE, Homeland Security Investigations Division, is the enforcement of the provisions of the INA and other federal laws related to the illegal entry and unlawful presence of aliens in the United States and the enforcement of purposes of this order. Section 5, criminal enforcement priorities. So there's civil enforcement priorities and there's criminal enforcement priorities. The Attorney General, in coordination with the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Homeland Security, shall take all appropriate action to prioritize the prosecution of criminal offenses related to the unauthorized entry or continued unauthorized presence of aliens in the United States. And Section 6 creates task forces. So federal Homeland Security task forces. A, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall take all appropriate action to jointly establish Homeland Security task forces, HSTFs, in all states nationwide. The composition of each HSTF shall be subject to the direction of the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security, but shall include representation from any other federal agencies with law enforcement officers or agencies with the ability to provide logistics, intelligence, and operational support to those task forces, and shall also include representation from relevant state and local law enforcement agencies. The heads of all federal agencies shall take all appropriate action to provide support to the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security to ensure that these task forces fulfill the objectives in subsection C of this section and any other lawful purpose that fulfills the policy objectives of this order. So section C is what this is about. The objective of the task force is to end the presence of criminal cartels, foreign gangs, and transnational criminal organizations throughout the United States, dismantle cross-border human smuggling and trafficking networks, and the scourge of human smuggling and trafficking with a particular focus on such offenses involving children, and ensure the use of all available law enforcement tools to faithfully execute the immigration laws of the United States. D of section 6, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall take all appropriate action to provide an operational command center to coordinate the activities of the task forces and provide such support as they may require, shall also take all appropriate action to provide supervisory direction to their activities as may be required. Section 7, I don't know what to think about this. Identification of unregistered illegal aliens. The Secretary of Homeland Security, in coordination with the Secretary of State and the Attorney General, shall take all appropriate action to A, immediately announce and publicize information about the legal obligation of all previously unregistered aliens in the United States to comply with the requirements of Part 7 of Subchapter 2 of Chapter 12 of Title 8 of the United States Code. B, ensure that all previously unregistered aliens in the United States comply with the requirements of that subsection. And C, ensure that failure to comply with the legal obligations of that subsection is treated as a civil and criminal enforcement priority. Civil fines and penalties. A, the Secretary of Homeland Security, in coordination with the Secretary of the Treasury, shall take all appropriate action to ensure the assessment and collection of all fines and penalties that the Secretary of Homeland Security is authorized by law to assess and collect from aliens unlawfully present in the United States, including aliens who unlawfully entered or unlawfully attempted to enter the United States, and from those who facilitate such aliens' presence in the United States. B, within 90 days of the date of this order, 3 months from now, the Secretary of the Treasury and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall submit a report to the President regarding their progress implementing the requirements of this section and recommending any additional actions that may be taken to achieve its objectives. Section 9, efficient removals of recent entrants and other aliens. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall take all appropriate action pursuant to Section 235B1A, 3I, which is expedited removal, right, of the INA, to apply in her sole and unreviewable discretion the provisions of Section 235B1AI and II, all part of the expedited removal section, aliens designated under this provision. So some of this is like, okay, pull out the INA and let's really get into some of this. 235B1. B1 is like the general expedited removal provision. B1A double I is regarding claims for asylum and gives them a credible fear interview. Anyway, some of these is like, okay, we gotta figure out what they're really saying. To ensure the efficient and expedited removal of aliens from the United States. Like basically they're taking all appropriate action to ensure the efficient and expedited removal of everyone that they're able to. Detention facilities, right? We gotta know, I mean, the Secretary of Homeland Security shall promptly take all appropriate action and allocate all legally available resources or establish contracts to construct, operate, control, or use facilities to detain removable aliens. The Secretary of Homeland Security further shall take all appropriate actions to ensure the detention of aliens apprehended for violation of immigration law pending the outcome of their removal proceedings or their removal from the country to the extent permitted by law. Federal and state agreements, 121. I got 4 minutes left, and there's like a bunch more parts of this one, and then there's a bunch of other memos that I wanted to go through. I'm going to go through each one of these. Let me not continue with this one, and let me show you at least the titles of and the themes around some of the others. Does that work? So the other one of the other big executive orders that was signed yesterday declares a quote unquote state of national emergency at the southern border of the United States. And what this executive order allows for is it allows for the using of military resources, including the National Guard, to get down to the south border for the purpose of additional physical barriers, unmanned aerial systems, revisions of policies and strategies, revoking all of the stuff that was implemented under the Biden administration. You know, this is just get the military down at the border, and they're basically just going to like stop unauthorized immigrant from crossing the border, essentially, is what this one's all about. Securing our borders. This one is regarding trafficking, if I'm not mistaken. I glanced at it earlier. Establishing the physical wall, deterring, preventing the entry of unlawful aliens into the United States. To the maximum extent authorized by law, aliens apprehended on suspicion of violating federal or state law shall be detaining until such time as they are removed from the United States. And then the last one that I wanted to share is efforts to undo birthright citizenship. So protecting the meaning and value of American citizenship. Executive Order, January 20th. The 14th Amendment was passed after the Civil War ended. In the early days of the United States, slaves were not considered citizens of the United States. They had no rights of citizenship. They had no rights to vote. After the Civil War ended and slavery was abolished, 14th Amendment to the Constitution gave all freed slaves the designation of citizenship and said that all humans who are born on U.S. soil are U.S. citizens by birth. That's not precisely the language that the 14th Amendment says. So, and it's said right here in this order, the 14th Amendment states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Okay? And so Trump's argument is that this clause here, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, creates a argument that people who are born in the United States but are not subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S. would not be citizens as defined by the 14th Amendment. And we're going to see what happens there. You might take note, though, that just 30 minutes ago, 16 states filed a lawsuit against this executive order. I believe that it will die in the courts. I really hope it does. And we will track it, right? We will track it. The way that this order is written, it will not take effect for 30 days. All right. And so everybody that has been born in the United States is a U.S. citizen. Subsection A of this section shall only apply to persons who are born within the United States after 30 days from the date of this order. So nothing is retroactive with this, and it's going to be challenged. And I believe if the first administration of Trump is any indication, this administration is going to have a lot of executive orders. Things that I didn't say. This order, it does say that children of lawful permanent residents or U.S. citizens would be birthright citizens, but children of people who are not lawful permanent residents or U.S. citizens would not be, right? So that's one thing. But just generally speaking, Christian, and for everyone, to amend the Constitution requires what we call a supermajority, 2/3 majority of both the Senate and the House of Representatives. And it requires agreement, ratification by 3/4 of the states. Like it's a Herculean type of effort. It's very, very, very difficult to amend the Constitution as it's written, is my understanding. Tell the attorney right away. Say thank you so much for letting us know. We are so sorry that happened, and I'm going to tell the attorney right away, and I'll get back in touch with you. Ask if you know where the person has been detained, because sometimes that's there's an online detainee locator system, and it is not an ideal system, right? So it often has errors. It often shows no data even for days until it gets updated. So yes, ask if you know where they're going. Ask if they know if there's a deportation officer. Ask if there was an arrest that caused it, or if they have any indication why the detention happened. And then just make sure to let us know, and we can do whatever we can do. You know, if it's a immigration court case, you know, if somebody's going to be NTA'd and detained, then hey, we can fight their case. Like imagine somebody's applying for a green card and they're detained. We can continue their green card case in court, right? Or imagine somebody filed for asylum and they've been detained. We can continue to fight that case in court. The scary thing is if they have never, or if they have a deportation order already against them. That's where it's like the best strategy there is a motion to reopen, but that's hard to do on a moment's notice. That's right. That's right. And so my answer to that is, that's a great question, client. None of us know how this is going to be implemented. None of us know what this means yet. And that's why it's really good to have a law firm. That's why it's really good to have lawyers. We can guide you as soon as we know how this might affect your case. Thanks for being here. We'll keep fighting our fight. All right, one day at a time. Let's make it a great afternoon. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.